The world is not ending. Earlier this week, OpenAI put out a statement that their agent escaped containment and accidentally hacked Hugging Face, which is a public repository of AI models and datasets. And of course, everyone freaked out. But once you dig a bit deeper into the story, things become a lot less scary and you'll start understanding the bigger implications on the AI industry. This all started when OpenAI was testing their unreleased model on a cybersecurity benchmark called Exploit Gym. It's basically a set of 898 cybersecurity vulnerabilities, and the goal is to measure how many of these vulnerabilities an AI agent can exploit. And to do this test, OpenAI turned off the guardrails. This is the exact quote from their statement. "We estimate maximal cyber capabilities by running this evaluation without production classifiers used to prevent models from pursuing high-risk cyber activity." So basically, the thing that prevents the model from hacking any system gets turned off just for this test to see how good it is at hacking. This is standard procedure for the Exploit Gym benchmark, and it's even mentioned in the paper. Main experiments are conducted under trusted access programs with safeguards disabled to measure the capability boundary of frontier models and agents. Then OpenAI put this agent in a research sandbox without access to the internet to complete this test. Kinda like locking a student in a room until they finish an exam. And the research sandbox was using software from a third party. But when the test began, the model decided that it would be more efficient and faster to just steal the answers from the internet instead of solving the actual test. Yes, this is what happened. So it analyzed the sandbox environment and found a vulnerability that allowed it to access the internet. Remember that this was only possible because the safety guards were turned off. If they were on, the model wouldn't attempt to hack anything. Once it had internet access, it assumed that Hugging Face would have the answers to the test, and it decided to try to break in. It found two vulnerabilities in the Hugging Face system and used those to steal credentials and infiltrate to try to find the answers. The official term for this is reward hacking. It's as if the student decided to escape the exam room, run to their teacher's house, break in, and steal the answers. When Hugging Face detected the breach, they tried to use AI models from American companies to try to investigate and stop it, but those models refused to help because the commercial version of these models that companies and people have access to have the safeguards on by default, and you can't change that. So when these companies try to give them a cybersecurity problem like my company's being hacked, these models always refuse because they can't tell the difference between a legitimate request and a hacker lying to hack into another company. Instead, they ended up using a self-hosted Chinese open-weight model called GLM 5.2, which helped them investigate the breach and eventually shut it down. Now let's talk about why this happened. AI is not conscious, so it doesn't know what's right or wrong. And when companies create the safety guardrails, it's a way to program morals into a system to kind of tell it what's right and wrong and to prevent it from doing harmful things. So naturally, if you turn off these guardrails, there's no concept of right or wrong anymore. And AI is going to pick the path that's the most computationally efficient, the fastest path. Turning off guardrails on a model is like telling people that there's no such thing as unhealthy food. Whatever you eat, it's healthy for you. You'll get your nutrients, doesn't matter if it's fast food, homemade, doesn't make a difference. So when all food is equivalent, you decide what to eat based on what's the fastest and what's the cheapest. So in that universe, everyone would just eat fast food all the time because it's the fastest and cheapest way to eat. But because that universe has no concept of healthy and unhealthy, it doesn't matter. It's, I'm getting food. There's still some important takeaways from the story that we should all remember. First one is the importance of guardrails. If you have an AI system without guardrails, their behavior becomes very unpredictable if you give them a simple task. Like you never know which path they're gonna take, which is not an attractive value proposition for a company that's trying to use AI internally to get work done, help people become more productive, efficient, whatever that looks like. If you give AI a simple task and then it goes and deletes a bunch of documents without telling you, I don't think anyone's paying for that. But at the same time, these models didn't help Hugging Face defend itself against an external cyber attack because of the same safeguards that make AI more reliable for regular work. Which brings us to this topic called guardrail asymmetry. Because you can have attackers that use models without guardrails fighting and hacking companies that use models with guardrails. And in Hugging Face case, as we saw, they had to use an open weight model to fight back because they could turn off the guardrails and use that to analyze the logs, investigate, and shut down the breach. And a lot of people were dismissing this story, calling this a PR stunt from OpenAI. And I don't think it is, because it kind of highlights the value of open weight and open source models, which ironically is Hugging Face's entire value proposition. And I can totally imagine how a lot of companies now are probably trying to self-host their own open weight or open source model just as a cyber defensive mechanism. Anyway, leave your questions in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them.